Hey guys, it's Misty with My Paper Cuts, and I'm coming on today with a card share. Like so many of you probably are, I have been super inspired by these wonderful, very talented ladies, Jill Norwood, Anna White, Tina Crafty Bean, and Marilyn G. Over the past couple of months, they have all been sharing their woodblock hauls and the absolutely stunning projects that they've been making with these old school stamps. And I was so inspired that I went out and combed through thrift stores and Goodwill and garage sales and everything and picked up a bunch myself. I even scored a couple of fantastic destashes on YouTube in the last couple of weeks. And so um, the interesting thing about this is that a few years ago, I got rid of all my woodblock stamps except for a very select few. I don't like the process of stamping with a woodblock at all. I have the Stamp-A-Majig, and that is what I use for it. I just don't like that process. It feels very awkward to me. So that's the reason why, even though I loved the images on the stamps that I had, I just wasn't using them because I didn't like the process. Unfortunately, I got rid of some great ones before I, like a dummy, realized that you can unmount them, which, don't freak out, is probably what I'm going to be doing. I've bought quite a few. I just don't like the amount of space they take when they're on the block. It's not important to me to have the image. I usually stamp my images out and keep a book of all my stamped images so that I can look for one without having to actually dig through all of my stamps anyway. So I will probably be unmounting most of the wood blocks that I have purchased recently. The ones that I do keep on the blocks or that will get damaged if I try to unmount them, I store them in cookie cutter containers. They're made to store cookie cutters in one layer, so they're the perfect depth for a stamp. And then I put the containers on upright so that my wood blocks are stored like this. So there's no pressure on the rubber, so this doesn't get damaged while it's stored. And then that way they can go up on a shelf. So that's how I store the ones I keep mounted. But like I said, as painful as it may be to some of you, I will be unmounting most of mine that I have purchased. So without further ado, let me get into the card. So this stamp is from Darcy's. It is Q1945. The person who purchased this originally paid $11 for it. I paid $2 for this at the thrift store. It's a good size stamp, so I thought it was worth the $2. I probably am not going to be going out and really buying anymore. One, like I said, because I'm not enjoying it, but two, I feel like due to the popularity of all of these woodblock stamps being purchased again, I noticed even at Goodwill, they've jacked up the prices. They used to just throw a bunch in a bag, sell you the bag for $5, $6, maybe $7. The last time I went, they had small bags with just small stamps for $12.49. And then they were selling individual stamps like this one for anywhere from $4 to $7 each. That didn't please me because I just feel like it's just taking advantage of people and I don't like it. So, and like I said, I'm just really not into the woodblock stamps that much. But coloring these images the past few weeks has been really fun. So I did make a shaped card today, and that was using this die set from We Are Memory Keepers. It is called Nesting Frames 8, and I've got scraps in there, but you can see there's 18 dies in here. And I can't remember exactly which size I used, but I wanted to be able to just have a square card without going so big that it would be really difficult to have an envelope for it, but I'm going to have to custom make envelopes anyway, which is fine by me. And when I make a shaped card, I don't like to lose the detail at the top, like this curve here. I don't like to lose that. And I know that a lot of the technique that people use to make shaped cards involves using the die cut to cut out a folded piece of cardstock. And that way you have your folded edge at the top. I would rather have the whole shape be on my shaped card. So what I do is I just cut out two and then I score the bottom layer. Here, I'll show you on the back of my card here. I score the bottom layer and then I just use liquid glue to glue the two together so that I don't lose any of the shape when I have a shaped card. It's just easier for me. You still get a wonderful flap. You do lose a little bit of space on the inside, but I would rather lose it there than lose the shape of the card itself. So that is what I used for the shape card. And then I'll share everything else as I walk through the process of how I made these cards. So here's the card, and what I did was I stamped on watercolor paper in VersaFine ink, and I originally cut out just squares of watercolor paper so that I could work with these individually. And I stamped, like I said, in VersaFine ink, and then I took all the squares and I spread them out on my surface, and I actually used my brushos. Another challenge I've been doing to myself lately is to use all these things that I've purchased and stop buying so much new stuff. But there's so much in my craft room that I have never touched, and so I've been challenging myself to do it. And with my buddy P's help, she has actually been challenging me to do specific things as well, which is another push to do this. And so I'm really proud of myself. I've owned these for a while and have never used them. So I used emerald green and leaf green, and I just sprinkled them on and then sprayed them down with just water and just let the colors flow wherever they were. And then I added a little more sprinkle and did the same thing. So it just did its thing. I didn't use any brushes or anything with that stage of it. I just let the brushes do what they do, their magic. So then once that was dry, then I added the stripes back in for the plaid pattern, because the plaid really got lost in all of this kind of tie-dye effect that brushos do. So for adding in the stripes, I actually got out my Daniel Smith watercolors. And I think I've shared this in the past, but I wanted to share it again today because I think it's such a good tip. Daniel Smith does these colors to try sheets. You can get these on Amazon. And what it is it's all of, there's 238 colors in here. So it's all of their colors, and they put a little dot of each color along with all the information. And they sell this package of the sheets, and it includes all of the specialty colors, which is awesome. But being a card maker, even though I watercolor quite a bit, I don't always want to use my Daniel Smith watercolors, and they are expensive. And I very rarely use the same colors over and over, except for maybe like hair and skin tones. But you know, when I want to use red, I mean, I would probably only buy one red in a palette of Daniel Smith, but here I've got them all and I only need a little bit. And especially with these specialty ones, I mean, if you got this interference blue, for instance, if you got a tube of that, a card maker would never use that much in their lifetime, and their tubes are expensive. This whole thing, all of these colors, is about the price, actually less than the price of 2 colors in the tubes. So I swear by this. And if you get the Simon Says card kits like I do, you probably have received a few in the past. And I know that Simon Says sells smaller ones that are some of the artists that they have. It's some of their choice colors, like their favorite go-to colors. They've made dot sheets as well. So this is a really good option if you like watercoloring, but you don't want to invest in creating a whole palette because you just don't use that much paint. So I used that, and I used one of the darker greens to add in the stripes. And for the gold, I used my Gonzai Tombi. This is also available on Amazon if you've ever been looking for it. But these are really, really pigmented golds, and there's all these different shades. And so I put those on there as well because I really wanted green and gold for St. Patrick's Day. And then I also splattered the background with some of the gold, but I used this Crooked Broomstick Distressed Mica Stain, which I could kick myself for only buying one bottle of this because I think this is my favorite out of all of the colors, is this really cool brown. I love grungy, vintagey colors. But to get the big splatters instead of spraying it, I just, after I shook it up, I open it up and I use the straw to do droplet kind of splatters instead. One is because I'm trying to make this last as long as I possibly can because I did only get the one. But two, it also just, I feel like it gives me more control over where I can actually drop the droplets at. So then once everything was dry, I flipped all of them over. Oh, I fussy cut them out, obviously. Sorry. After I colored them, I fussy cut them out. I inked around the edges a little bit with some pine needles distress ink. And then I flipped them all over and I sprayed them with a light mist of water, and I used my flower shaping tools to give them this bend. You can either do it just by running your flower tool with your thumb and just kind of shaping it, or you can put it face down into some foam like a mouse pad or just a piece of foam, and then you can just press with the flower shaping tools. But I wanted this dimension that I've got, but I didn't want to put anything behind them. So as you can see, there's nothing behind them, but there's still a lot of dimension on this. So I wet the watercolor paper and did that, and then I let them dry, and now it's holding its shape on its own, which I just absolutely love. So, and then when I glued it down, I only glued the stem here and then just the very center so that all of these leaves are separate. I did have to cut in between them so that I could get this individual shape with a little bit of freedom because it was one solid piece. I was able to get a lot more shape out of it by just snipping in between each individual leaf there. So this word here is, I actually created this on my Cricut. I just picked one of the fonts, and then I used the offset feature to create a shadow. And again, when I was talking with P, I told her I'm never buying word dyes again. Now that Cricut has this offset feature, I never have to. I can use any font I want, any word. I can always have a shadow. I can cut out multiples without having, I mean, it's just easy peasy. And so I just really like the freedom that I got with, now that we have that offset feature. To be honest, we've always been able to cut out words with the Cricuts, but most of the reason I would buy those word dyes was so I could have this shadow. And now we can do that with the Cricut, which I love. This twine is from May Arts. It's just their standard twine. I love May Arts twine. I think I have 3 or 4 of their big spools of it. There's like 400 and something yards on each one. So I'll never use it all up, but I do have like this light color. I think there's one that's almost white, and then I also have like a brown color. I love twine like this. And then this background is created with this embossing folder, which is another Tim Holtz thing. I went a little distress heavy and Tim Holtz heavy on this card, but this is, I think it's a basket weave or something, but it's one of the 3D ones. And I did use a spray of water on the paper before I ran it through because I really wanted the detail, but this paper definitely could not handle water, so it kind of got smooth, but I don't mind. I still like the texture that I got from that. And then the inking around the edges and just a slight over the top is done with tea-dye Distress Oxide ink. And then on the inside of the card, it's just, I cut another layer, just like the front, and it's from the same paper as on the front. I just, instead of trying to fight it, I just cut off enough to where I knew it would fit. It doesn't bother me. Like I said, I would rather lose this strip of that shape than lose this with that other die cutting method. And then this stamp just says Happy St. Patrick's Day, and it's from another great set that I found at a yard sale recently, which is from Close to My Heart, and there's the information, the super set special occasion. And this is just a fabulous set. I know a lot of you have been looking for the little stamps that you can do on the backs of your cards. This is a great one. It's got all the holidays. And it's, I mean, everything's in one, and again, it's cling so that you can easily store. I mean, to store this many woodblock stamps would be a lot more space than just this little envelope. So there's that information. And again, that number is C1147 if you can find it. I hope you do. And then, as promised, I will share the cards, the whole stack of cards at the end, because since I used Brushos, all of them have their own unique character and colors. Some have lighter spots, darker spots. Some have, more of the real emerald greens. I know a couple of these, they have a really good chunk of blue in them. Here's one that's got a lot of the blue in it. But anyway, here's the whole stack of cards that I made. I had so much fun, and all from just inspiration of buying a woodblock stamp. All right, you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll be back soon with some more cards. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.